Hello everybody, I'm Ard and welcome to another episode of me trying to become a better builder in Minecraft. And today, we're going to be adding on to my docks area today and adding a lighthouse up on the hill above me. Except the first step to do this build is unfortunately an awful lot of training, because while there was already a hill up here to work with, and was where I originally planned to do this, the hill isn't quite big enough. Now, I've got to be frank here, I have done almost no training in the past. It's just not something I enjoy doing. It's not something that I have much practice doing. Usually I just conform to whatever's there with minimal changes. So this was quite a bit of a learning experience for me, just trying to do this in an organic way, in a way that I just haven't done in the past. So I tried to make this random, I tried to make this look natural, I tried to make this look cliff-like on one side, just to give it the appearance of like a walled-off hill, to make the lighthouse unapproachable from the back side of it. I don't know how well I succeeded, but you know, I did it, and it was an awful lot of that work. That said, I still don't really enjoy just dropping down tons of earth blocks. I do need to come back through here at some point and add some vegetation probably, and also add some trees. I should probably also learn how to vary the blocks more so it's not all just dirt, so there is some like stone or rock sticking out of it, at least at certain levels, to make it look like it is a raised hill leading up to like a larger type hill or mountain type situation. I am completely inexperienced at this though, and there's not very much block variation in this, just the standard green and brown tones from the dirt. I'm not entirely certain what to do with that. I probably should watch some other people's videos. Scar in particular is probably one of the better sources because he is absolutely amazing at training. Also has way too much free time and doesn't sleep. So he has those benefits over me. But I'm learning, so we'll get there eventually. But as you can see, this took me forever to do. Felt like this was actually the bulk of the build, even though the tower probably took me about as long as the actual training did, because the training was relatively simple in the scheme of things. So once again, I built this completely more or less off the cuff, same as the last building I did, and I was picking the color palette on the fly and working as I went, and I didn't want to build like your standard like red spiral circular lighthouse. I kind of wanted to go with an older school style. I wanted to do a fire pit based type one at the top instead of like using a like redstone, a circling redstone light using observers or something. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google Minecraft lighthouse. You'll find 15 billion tutorials on how to do it. It's pretty simple. But that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something that fit a more medieval type style, so that's what I went with. And then I realized, as I built this base here, I was building it in all grays and whites. And, I mean, it looks okay. I think I did a very good job with the gradient shifts and the texture shifting as I went, but it's all gray and white. And I really wanted to inject some color into it, and I was like, well, what do I do? And this is about where I got stumped. And then I decided to start using stripped acacia beams in it and jungle wood to start giving it orange colors, which is not a color pattern I'm usually used to using. This seemed to help give the build like at least an orange highlight color to help it stick out at a distance from the grays and the whites. And then I also started using granite and slate or deep slate walls to give it some depth and more color variation on the upper parts of the tower to work with. And then from there I just built it out and filled in the rest of it and gave it a dome and a fire pit in the top. Overall, I'm actually kind of happy with how this build turned out. Although it's not quite there. I can't quite put my finger on like where I failed on this build, but it at least got me most of the way there, and it's a little more varied. It's built in a style I wouldn't normally have done. So I'm not entirely unhappy with it, but I feel like it could use some work, and I'm just not entirely certain where. And I need to stop and figure that out. Now I also added a shed to the side of this, and I tried to use the nether bricks as a means to give a much brighter highlight color off from a distance, and I don't think it actually turned out well. Same with the hay bales in the bottom. That just didn't work. So this is me redoing it. I ended up using exposed copper to kind of give it a more muted color than the bright red, which also makes it look a bit mossy because now it's starting to burnish and starting to turn green. For the floor, I replaced it with a loom. a whole bunch of them in rows to make it almost look like more like matting instead of whatever that hay bale mess that I was trying to make it look like a stables for. So the wood storage looks a little bit better now. Still not entirely happy with the shed, but I think this at least makes it pop a little bit more without looking completely garish the way the red roof did. I also added some more, I used some stairs on the roof here on the sides to give it a bit more depth and gave it an overhanging lip around the back here. So overall, if we come back out, it seems to fit in a little bit better and doesn't just stick out as a garish eyesore. Coming inside the lighthouse, you can see that I did absolutely no interior work. None. This is on me, folks. I've got to get better at this. But by the time I got to this part of the build, I was just done. I couldn't do it. So the best you get is walling on the stairs to make it look like there's some safety measures that you won't just fall off. And then I added like some fences up under them to make it look like it had some structure that was actually attached to the walls. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way that overall looks. Nothing else in here. I don't actually know what to do with this. I kind of want to add a hut outside to go with this. So maybe I'll come back in and do the interior at one point once I determine what's going to be inside that house. Peekaboo. Overall, I'm kind of happy with how the build turned out. It's using some colors that I generally don't use. I tend to stray away from oranges. I find them hard to use most of the time, and which tails into stuff like the granite as well, just because they're just colors I just don't synergize well with most of the time. As I've said in the past, I tend to stick to blues and whites or grays, and which is, you can see I started with that right in the base there. But overall, I feel like this sticks in and kind of sticks out from a far enough distance to actually be a lighthouse. Could be taller, but this is supposed to be a river type port, not a big sea type one. It's not supposed to be visible from far off. It's mostly just to signify that the docks are here. I mean, I know there's only one dock right here. That's part of the plan, folks. Trust the process. I mean, I don't trust the process, but you should, because how else am I going to learn? I swear I'm not going to fail y'all. For reals. Anyhow, any comments about this build would be useful, because like I said, I'm trying to get better at this and trying to make things fit in. My next goal will probably be to add more buildings to the sides here to flesh out the waterfront area before I actually move to where I'm actually going to build a small village. So, as always, I'm Ard. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.